All
Boom.
right, there.
There he is. Look
Yeah.
at you. Hey, nice beard, man. Working on the beard. Where is the iron mullet? Is it still there?
It's here. It's just a little bit grown out. I gotta clip the bushes before the fight.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. How you feeling, my man? I appreciate you meeting with me so close to the fight. Now, let me understand this. Is it on 246 or the fight night the following week? Because I'm seeing conflicting information. Did it change?
Nah, it's on 246.
That's what I thought. I read somewhere that it was supposed to be on the following week on the fight night card, and I was like, I don't think that's right. But
And
okay. What happened?
yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. Nah, it's for sure next Saturday.
Right on. Okay, so man, how you feeling? What I mean, before, when you first got in the UFC, you were at heavyweight, and you dropped down. How is that for you? Is it much of a cut at all, or no?
Nah, I pretty much stay around because I got my eating habits under control. I'm on a really good, healthy, plant-based diet, and I keep active. So I walk around 220. I hardly ever get over 220, 225.
Yeah, that sounds like light heavyweight, status. So, tell me about this plant-based diet. I saw an interesting documentary recently on Netflix, and it was featuring a guy. I can't remember his name. He used to fight in the UFC. He actually hosted the thing, and he talks to all these different athletes, NFL athletes, a lot of guys that are all just straight vegan. And I'm
Yeah,
like, sort of getting me
the
thinking.
game changers.
James Wilkes, the Game Changers.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
seen it?
yeah.
So were you already on that plant-based deal before that, or?
For sure. I've been on it now for about ever since I went down to light heavyweight. So it's been about 2.5 years.
Wow. So just like 100% all the time, huh?
Nah, I have meat, but it's maybe like once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. It's not a big part of my diet. It's just, and it's nothing like I'm really strict on. It's just like, I just feel better at this weight. I feel better and healthier. Just a whole lifestyle change. It's not just like hey, diet thing. It's for me, it's a whole holistic way of living, and that's kind of like what I'm about now. Like, I pretty much don't use any pharmaceutical products. I don't use any store bought products. Like, I make my own soap. I make my own lotions, all homemade. So it's kind of like a whole lifestyle change for me, not just a diet.
How do you do that? How do you make soap? So you're like Tyler Durden from Fight Club. You make your own soap.
Yeah, it's just three products: coconut oil that you pick up from the store,
Yeah.
organic lye that I order online, and then olive oil and essential oils. That's all I use.
That's awesome. What about deodorant? Because I've always heard that the aluminum in deodorant is bad for you, but you can't really find deodorant that doesn't have aluminum in it.
Um, so like I also make my own toothpaste without fluoride, and then
Wow.
uh, I haven't worn deodorant in like 2 years. And but I mean, people tell me all the time, they're like, man, how come you wear deodorant and you don't have no body odor? It's because of the clean diet. If you're eating clean, then you sweat out clean, and that's just the way it is. I just feel deodorant, the whole idea of it, because under your armpits, that's your lymph nodes, and that's your detox system. So why would you want to cover up your detox system? That just doesn't make sense to me, at least.
Wow, that's fascinating. So, actually, you know what? I was noticing, like in the gym, especially during jujitsu, like I would be super clean. Like I would have a fresh shower, but I get in there, and as soon as I start sweating, I would just start stinking so bad. And I'm like, damn, man, what is wrong with me? So I was reading up on like if you put, like lemon juice on your skin, and like the closest thing I could find was like some body wash that has actual like orange, like peels and like citrus in it. And man, it's a world of difference. It's kind of similar to what you're saying. Like if you kind of, I don't know, it's more of a preventative measure, I guess, instead of like, trying to fix it after the fact.
Exactly, exactly. And that's kind of what my thing is with, making my own soaps, knowing what everything, because it all really happened for me after the USADA stuff, man. Once I got popped for that tainted supplement, and then I started doing research on what I eat, and I was like, man, they're putting all this shit in the stuff we eat that, they're saying they're putting in it, but they're not. And then that just floated on to like the products that we're putting on ourselves and everything like that. Like I make my own laundry detergent, everything, man. I don't really touch any store bought things. If I don't know what's going in it, then I don't touch it.
Damn, dude. Wow, man, we gotta have a longer conversation, man. When you're in Las Vegas sometime, hopefully this is really interesting stuff. I covered Contender Series this year at the new UFC Apex, about 10 weeks. I was there every single week, 5 fights. It's kind of a blur. There's a lot of guys. I know there's a couple of them fighting on this card. One of them you're fighting, Aleksa Camur. This guy, he had an impressive win. Doesn't look real big for a light heavyweight to me. I actually had to do a double take when I saw that you were fighting him. I was like, I don't remember him being, very big. I thought he was like a middleweight or something. But he's a wrestler, got a pretty good record. Only got 5 pro fights, but 3 as an amateur, never lost. Hasn't lost as a pro. But like I was telling Ode Osborne, who's also on this card, he was another Contender Series guy. I said, look, Contender Series is not like Ultimate Fighter where they would take these guys later and put them against other contenders. They're just throwing them right to the wolves, man. So does this guy know what he's getting himself into?
Um, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the guy. Honestly, I haven't looked up any film on him. I don't really look up any film on any of my opponents. But we'll see when we get there. It's a big card for both of us. It's the first time I've been on a pay-per-view card. First time fighting the T-Mobile Arena. Connor's going to be on the card. It's going to be pandemonium. So really, it's just we're just going to see where both of us is at. Definitely a bunch of guys are coming out of the Contender Series and making waves. So you can never take anybody for granted if they're standing aside on the other side of the cage of you.
Yeah, man, you said it right there. It's going to be absolutely pandemonium. I've been here since 2017, and anytime. Well, Cyborg is in Bellator, of course. Now, anytime you have Cyborg, Diaz, Conor McGregor in Las Vegas, it's absolutely bananas, and I just can't wait. It was kind of unexpected. The announcement for this card just kind of came out of nowhere. What do you think about that main event? Because you fight pretty early on the card. I think you're a featured prelim on the Fight Pass prelim, and then after that, hopefully you get to do what? Enjoy the show, perhaps.
Probably not. I just probably go back to the room and just chill. I'm not really kind of stay around and watch guy.
Yeah,
Honestly, I haven't watched a fight. I don't watch many fights anymore. Probably I haven't watched a fight in like 2 years, to be honest with you.
really.
Um, yeah. So, but nah. I mean, I catch the the updates and like the highlights and stuff, but actually sit down and watch one, I really don't do that anymore. But yeah, I'm actually looking forward to seeing his return. 170. His coach said he's looking better than ever. So it's exciting fight for both. And then Cerrone, he's going to go down in history. He got so many records. So I mean, you can't really downplay that main event. That's going to be insane.
Yeah, it's big for you guys. I've heard a lot of fans, especially on social media, complain, which that's pretty, that's pretty common these days, right? It's like that. It seems like that's all you see. They're like, "Oh, this card sucks." I'm like, "Look, you need to educate yourself." That's what I'm telling people. Like, you need to look further down on this card. Just because you don't see a lot of names you recognize, trust me, there are names that you will know after this card. And I think for guys like you and Ode and some other guys, like you said, it's a fantastic opportunity to not only be a part of a pay-per-view event in Las Vegas, but a Conor fight. I mean, that right there, if you get a knockout of the night or even a fight of the night, which can happen on a prelim, we've seen it, uh, that can elevate your status in a big way.
Exactly. I mean, with the internet and how it is today, man, if you get something and it goes viral, I mean, your name is all over the place. And like you said, your stock goes up. So, yeah, it's a big opportunity for anyone that's on the card with Connor and any of these guys that are on there. Because, like, the whole main card is stacked.
Yeah, and so yeah, and as you know, because on the last time, unfortunately, you were on the receiving end of that, from the hype train, which is Johnny Walker, and I think we were all on the Johnny Walker Kool-Aid a little bit, even myself included. But we kind of saw, what happened to him in his last fight. But I mean, obviously, how bad does that suck? Because that's the first time that's ever happened to you since you've been fighting. You've been an athlete for a long time. You never had a suffered a KO before, right? No, not in MMA at
Nah,
least. Yeah.
nah.
How bad? I
Um,
mean, yeah. How bad is it? I mean, was it bad or was it something that just kind of happened and then afterwards you're like, damn, man, you look back like shit.
I mean, what can you say? Like I say, my quote for that is, if you're afraid to get wet, don't be a lifeguard. It's a part of the game. Shit, I went back and celebrated like any other time. I'm not hanging my head on anything. We're all top notch athletes. One person has to win, one person has to lose, and that's a type of move that you won't see again at our weight class or the heavyweight. You know what I mean? Who's doing an axe kick to a spinning back fist? You know what I mean? Like nobody's working on that. Nobody's practicing that. He probably pulled that out his ass. And
Sure.
hey, hats off to him. If you can pull that shit off and get away with it on me, hey, congrats to you. I ain't gonna hang my head on something like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, man, it's great attitude. I one time I got my ass handed to me. I got TKO'd in like 45 seconds, and it was really about 30 seconds of me just getting my face beat in after the initial, after I initially got rocked. And so, yeah, you do kind of afterwards is like, shit, man, what the hell just happened, man? Like, I can't believe I got embarrassed like that. And then after some time goes by, you go, man, you know what? I'm still a bad motherfucker, though. Who cares?
Hey, I mean, there weren't a lot of things going in my favor for that. I mean, it was in his home country, going to Brazil,
Yeah.
first time being in Brazil. So, like I say, it is what it is. I ain't gonna hang my head. This is the fight game. You win some, you lose some, but it's all about the battle, and I enjoy this journey every second of it.
And yeah, how many have you been to Las Vegas before? This is your first time fighting here, correct?
It's my first time fighting, but I've been there a few times. Been there a few times.
Okay. So, what do you like to do with yourself then? Because you said you don't spend a lot of time watching fights. You spend a lot of time, obviously, crafting things like you live in damn Red Dead Redemption, right? You're crafting all this laundry soap and everything, and which I think is totally cool. But what else do you? I mean, like, what are you looking forward to doing in Las Vegas, for example? I mean, will you go to the UFC PI and embrace that? And what else do you get into?
Not really much, man. I do a bunch of research on the flat Earth. That's definitely what I'm gonna be into. Uh, Other than that, I mean, I won't be showing my face much. I'm not. I'm
Really?
not a crowd guy. I don't really like crowds.
Yeah, no kidding. But yet you go out there for a living, right? And you put on a show for a crowd. So I guess yeah, that makes sense though in a lot of ways, because like I consider myself a performer and a showman, but in a normal setting, I really don't like crowds either. I was at this convention yesterday in Las Vegas, the CES convention. It's like Consumer Electronics Showcase, and
Uh
it's
huh.
it's fucking insane, man. People come from all over the world for this thing. I happen to get a free badge for it. These tickets are like $300, and they're like limited to he even get them. Okay,
Yeah.
and I was there for like half an hour before I was like, I got to get the fuck out of here, man. I cannot be around this many people, man. I was bugging out. so, um, so the following pay per view is John Bones Jones and Dominic Reyes in Houston. Is it kind of a bummer that you don't get to fight in South Texas, in Houston, and in Vegas instead, or is it kind of bittersweet since there's the whole Conor McGregor, Las Vegas mystique and everything?
Nah, I was very disappointed in that, especially because like I'm the only Houston fighter that isn't fighting on that card. The
Mm-hmm.
only Houston fighter that's not fighting on that card. So very disappointed. Um, and as you know, my matchmaker's from Houston, so Mick Maynard, I thought he was going to make that happen. Have all the Houston fighters on that card, but I'll continue being the black sheep. But yeah, but that and then dang, what else was I going to say on that? But yeah, but you know what? I can't complain because I was supposed to fight on the Houston card back in 2017 and I got hurt. I tore my knee up. So I really can't complain that much. At the end of the day, you just got to be grateful that you're able to come in and fight on this stage and just be grateful for that because, I could be fighting in the backyard for $200, but instead I'm fighting for the UFC. So I got to be grateful. So
So, where are you located at right now? Are you?
same place I've always been, Rosharon. It's about
Oh, okay.
20, 20, 30 miles outside of Houston.
I see. I see. For some reason, I thought you did your camps somewhere else. Have you ever gone anywhere else to do a camp, or you're strictly with Gracie Baja down in South Texas?
I was with Great. I've been in Gracie Bar submission boxing, but I did a little stint over in Oregon with Gracie Bar Portland for a little bit over there. and I did that for about 8 months. But nah, other than that, I've been here the whole time.
I remember that. That's when I first talked to you. Okay, because you were there at the time, and remind me again, who were some of the people that you got to work with over there, and what was that experience like?
Now I think they switched to American Top Team Portland. I think, or I might be tripping. I'm not sure, but I know that's it was Professor Fabio Scherner. Uh,
Sure. Yep.
uh, Ed Herman was over there. Paige was over there. They got
Chael.
a couple. Chell, yeah, a couple other Bellator guys was over there. So really, really good group of people. It was just stuff wasn't working out for me financially. Really, it wasn't the camp or anything. It was me and my budget, as
Yeah.
most things. You know?
Yeah, man. Well, I don't know how it is out there, but I have to imagine being in that close proximity to California, being on the West Coast, it's not the cost of living is not what we're kind of almost spoiled with a little bit being from Texas, because I live out here in Las Vegas now, and when I go to LA and I'm just mind blown. I'm like, man, how do y'all live like this, man? Like I was living like a king in San Antonio for, next to nothing.
Yeah, well, nah, it wasn't even that. It was the cost of living was about the same as Texas. So that was cool. It was more so like I
Mm.
didn't get a fight that whole time I was out there, and they were trying to say that I was not taking fights, and I'm like, I've never not taken a fight. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know, but pretty much that was it. And I was working like two jobs or something out there and training, and I wasn't getting any fights, so it was kind of just a waste of time, a waste of energy, and get back to a place where I had people that could actually, help me out and stuff, and so I wouldn't be stressed to the gills and everything. And then finally, as soon as I came back, it seems like they got me a fight. So, maybe that's just how the universe works.
Yeah, because I remember, there's something that interested me on your social media, and you said you kind of been. You told me the other day, you kind of staying away from it a little bit. I've noticed you're not as active on there, and I forget what it was even about, but you were a little critical of UFC, which was something that actually interested me because I'm like, hey, I love the UFC. I'm a company guy. I mean, I support them, but there's also it's just like anything with family or anybody else. It's like if things aren't, none of us are perfect, and if things need to be changed or fixed, I'm always going to make the suggestion. And I think you were. I can't remember what it was. Maybe you can
I mean,
refresh my memory, but
we can definitely go in it, but I think it was a bunch of things. I don't know. I think it had to do with my management, Sucker Punch Entertainment with Brian Butler and those guys. I think it had to do something with that. I think it had to do with something on my Twitter page at that time when I was in Oregon, because I was like only one of the only fighters that actually stood up for like the MMA or the UFC union, which
hmm
is pretty much going flatline. Ain't nobody talked about that since, and I was like the only fighter to come out and say, "Hey, I signed the petition." That's another thing. Um, and then right before like the Johnny Walker fight, this is what took it off the top for me. Like so they don't want us to have sponsors on our shorts. Okay, we got to wear the Reebok deal. Okay, that's cool. And now what are they doing? They're putting their own sponsors on the Reebok gear. They're having Monster and they're having this on the cage and they're taking all the money out of our pockets. So the only thing I could do to get sponsorship was, hey, I'll sponsor you. I'll shout you out on social media. I'll do commercials, and that's what I was doing. Hey, it's me, Justin Ledet, UFC fighter. Hey, check this product out or check that product out, and that's how I was making side cash. But then they want to send out an email to saying you can't do that anymore. You can't use the UFC's name to make money, even though you work for them. We can work for them. We just can't tell people we work for them. So I got to be like, oh, this is Justin Ledet. I'm MMA fighter Justin Ledet. Like, so you're taking all the money out of my pocket. So at that point, it was like, and the only reason why I have social media was for my career. Cause cause you kind of like, vent to people. You're like, yeah, I'm not getting this or I'm not getting this out of the UFC. And they're like, oh, call people out on Twitter, do this, do that. And I was doing all that and nothing benefited me. So it's like the only reason why I had the social media was for my career, but it wasn't benefiting my career. So I'm not going to stay on social media and hear people just talk shit, run their mouth, complain, uh, look for pity parties. Like that's all it is. That's all there is on social media, and I ain't got time for that. I can read, I can go out and do my workouts, whatever. That's just extra stress people are putting on their lives for no reason.
I know it, man. In my career, I have to use it a lot in order to promote what I'm doing and things like that, and also to stay on top of all the news and things like this, and to network with fighters and other analysts and stuff like that. But yeah, man, I remember last semester. I'm in grad school right now, and last semester in December, towards the end of the semester, I mean, I was swamped, man. I had like a 10-page paper, 15-page paper, 50-page paper. Like it was just all back to back to back. And so I didn't even have time to look at my damn Twitter and all that. I thought, damn, I'm actually spending all this time living in the real world. And
Exactly.
I feel better.
Exactly. That's the thing. And people get caught up in that social media life and they think that those people on their friends list are their real friends and all of this stuff. Like, man, like you think they're your friends, but they ain't even got your phone number. Like they want to tell you happy birthday on social media. Shit, text me, call me, tell me. But that's just the way society is now. And that's all cool for everybody else. But me, I got a small group of people that I'm cool with, and that's all I need. I don't need all this hoopla and people, on my bandwagon or whatever it may be. So
Man, yeah, I mean, you're spot on, and I've seen a lot of fighters because damn, it's crazy. I don't know where the time goes. I've been on Twitter for probably like 10 years now, right? And there used to be a lot more people that were a lot more active, and the fan base and everything, especially with the surge in popularity that we saw with the Ronda Rouseys and the Conor McGregors and things like that, it's caused this flood of fans to just come on here and just be so toxic, and they and
yeah.
I can't stand it whenever a fighter loses and then people just start mocking them. I'm like, man, you have no idea what it's like to get in there. I got my ass whooped. I told you, in front of my wife, in front of my brother, in front of one of my good friends, and there was only about 100 damn people at that fight, you know, and that felt fucking devastating. Now
Yeah.
imagine all of those people and then some, and then anybody in the world can see it. Now, why are you
Oh
gonna
yeah.
go kick a man while he's down? It's bullshit.
Nah, and it's hard to get used to, especially when you're coming from like the local show to there, and like you're under a microscope, and the whole world's watching you. And at first, it is a hard transition. You do get stressed out over it, but after a while, it's like, man, shit, they gonna hate you either way. They're gonna talk shit either way. So it's like, man, you can't let stuff bother you. And actually, man, that helped me out a lot in life in general. Just dealing with everything that comes with the UFC and the social media and all that, man, it's helped me out so much. Not only with myself and how I perceive things, but also my ego as well. I think, man, a bunch of guys in this game, man, their egos, man, are just insane to me. Like, just man, I just be down to earth and just be honest with yourself. But I think there's a lot of people out there lying, not only to their fan base, but to themselves too. And I just, whatever. If that's you, that's you. That's cool, man.
No, you're absolutely right. That is those are defense mechanisms that come from a place of insecurity,
Yep.
and you seem like the type of guy who's ready to address or take your personal demons head on, and I'm the same way. For years and years, I wasn't that guy. I was the guy that medicated myself with alcohol and all other kinds of just really negative energy in my life, man. And then you just come to a point where you have to be honest with yourself. Like, man, I'm trying to put up a front to try to protect myself from this shit that I'm afraid is going to hurt me. And I see right
Yeah.
through that shit and
Well,
egos
and
and
then
all that.
Oh yeah, and then because you got people living for other people that they don't even know. Why? Like you got people buying big houses, nice cars, all this stuff, and it's for other people. They're living for other people, man. Like you need to live for yourself, and if that makes you happy, whatever it be. If you got a 1988 car, but that thing make you happy, I mean, then forget what everybody else says. And it's a bunch of people pointing fingers, trying to tell people how to live, and they're not even doing it themselves. So it was a big it's been a great growing up experience. That's one thing that I didn't know was going to happen in the UFC. Like I tell people all the time, since I've been in the UFC, and I think it's been going on like 3.5 years now, I have not learned one thing about fighting, not one thing about fighting, but I learned a hell of a lot about life, and everything I know about fighting, I learned from life. So that's just how I feel.
That's great. I mean, yeah, that's really a pillar to being a martial artist too. I believe that firmly myself, and because that's why I do it. That's why I continue to do it. Like you said about the diet and everything, it's not just about I'm going to do this diet or I'm going to do this whatever short term goal. It's a lifestyle change. You make that a part of you, part of your identity, part of almost a religious experience in a way.
Exactly. Yeah, not for sure. I definitely take it as a spiritual. Yeah, I wouldn't say religious. I would say a
Well, yeah,
spiritual.
yeah. I hate
Yeah.
religion, so thank you for correcting me.
I mean, like I said, to each their own. I'm not going to judge, but it's
Sure.
just me myself. I'm just taking myself as an example, and you're totally right in what you're saying. Dead on.
I'm glad though. Yeah, it was the union that you were talking about, which caught my eye. And I tell you, man, I'm with you 100%. And like, and I couldn't have said it better myself. It started off with this little group popping up, this one, and then it just kind of all fell flat. I think what happened was a lot of the key guys, that stood up initially, like the Randy Couture's, TJ Dillashaw. I remember Tim Kennedy was on it. There's guys like John Fitch, I think, who are still in a legal battle, which I think, unfortunately, with the UFC, they have so many lawyers that it's just kind of a I hate to sound like a defeatist, but it's almost like you're going up against an army with just a squad of dudes. You just can't really do that, and it's not sustainable. But I also think that having professional athletes and then declaring that you want your sport to be taken as seriously as the major league sports in this country, MLB, NFL, NBA, that's not sustainable either. To not have a union to call people contractors, but then expect them to behave as employees. Or like you said, with the sponsorships, this is what drives me nuts. I get all the press updates from the UFC, and I swear, since the Reebok deal came out, there has got to be about 20 sponsors they've added. They've got Conor McGregor's whiskey on there. They've got that shitty vodka that they're peddling. Body Armor drinks, everything you could think of. And then I'm going, well, I wonder if they're going to add that sponsorship money into these Reebok payments or the sponsorship payments, right? But no, instead it's just nope. You get the Reebok money, we get the rest.
Well, see, that was my thing. So the reason why I agreed so much with Leslie Taylor's Project Spearhead, because I thought she had the best idea. Like with the Randy Couture, they were trying to unionize all of MMA. You
Mm.
can't do that. You can only unionize the company you're in, and that's Leslie Taylor's was the only one that did that. Was saying, hey, we want to unionize the UFC, and I was like, okay, cool. And then they had the good points. Okay, like you said, we're employees. And they're like, no, you're contractors. And then you look up the definition of employee. You have a uniform, the Reebok deal. You have and then you have to be on call at all times. That's USADA. They have to know where we're at 365 days a year. That's the two things of an employee, and they don't want to give that to us. And so, like you said, they got high-powered lawyers. And now they're putting these. They're even put like betting sites on like the things now, and it's wrong that we don't have someone at the table, negotiating for us. Like when the Reebok deal came, there was no negotiation for us. They gave whatever. When they do the UFC video game, there's nobody negotiation to give us a piece of the portion because they're using our likelihood. They're not doing nothing. When they signed this new ESPN deal, there was nobody at the table negotiating for the fighter saying, okay, since you signed this big ESPN deal and you want to monopolize the fight game because you got to subscribe to everything. You got to subscribe to Fight Pass. You got to subscribe to ESPN Plus. You done monopolized it. At least break us fighters off, and you didn't even raise fighters' pay. And then when anybody big did get on the union train, all they did was pay them off. That's all they did. GSP was on one. And then they came to GSP, hey, come fight Bisbing. Bam, gave him that big money, and then he shut up. And as long as you pay the big guys off, that's all you got to do. And, honestly, when I knew that it was a losing battle is when I found out that professional wrestling, WWE, isn't even unionized. And I was like, man, once I found out they weren't even unionized, I was like, oh, this is a losing battle. But I was just trying to hold Dana White accountable for what he said. When he put the Reebok deal into play, he was like, oh man, we got to have this Reebok deal because we're trying to be like every other major sport. Like, no, you're not. You're trying to make money like every other major sport and fuck us. It's kind of like the government. They're gonna tell you one thing, what you want to hear, but they're gonna do something totally different.
Oh yeah, God, don't even get me started on that because especially in the last couple of days, I watched the president's address this morning, and I thought for about 5 minutes I was like, "Damn, I like what he said," and then it started to kind of sink in. I'm like, "Wait a minute, motherfucker, you trying to put me together, man? You trying to put me together? I'm from Texas, man. I'm from Dallas, Texas. I know better than that." But yeah, you seem to have a business savvy that's above average when you talk about these things. And I think that's a big problem with a lot of the other fighters is that they just don't understand the concepts of some of the stuff you were talking about. Like I remember, Tim Kennedy left the sport rather quickly after the Reebok deal. And it wasn't, part of it had to do with fighting, but also, I interviewed him shortly after because he had made a lot of comments and he said, look, man, he said, I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, like the UFC, for example, for promotion, they're trying to tell me that I have to go out to Las Vegas and I have to participate in a press conference. That's one day. I have to leave because he's got all kinds of side hustles, makes him a ton of money. Okay. And then
Oh,
he, as a
with all
military guy, he's got his own company, Ranger Up. He's got a ton of other sponsors with, weapons manufacturing, all these things, right? On it. And then he's like, no, no. He's like, you can't call me a contractor and then tell me to come and do something. He's like, you have to pay me. That's how this works. He's
yeah,
like, because if I'm a contractor, then I don't have to do that. But if I'm an employee, then you have to pay me, and I don't get the benefits of being an employee. So don't call me a contractor and then expect me to be an employee.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I mean, I know you probably. I don't know if you saw it. I haven't mentioned much of it, but this wasn't my first fight back from the Johnny Walker fight. I was supposed to fight in back in June 29th in Minnesota on that Dos Santos and Ngannou card.
Mhm.
And the Monday before the fight, so 5 days before the fight, I was supposed to fly out at 5:30, and I was like, man, let me go get a workout in before I go to, so I don't got to work out after the plane flight. And so I go to jujitsu, and jujitsu, I ain't worn a mouthpiece in 11 years since I've been doing jujitsu. Never worn a mouthpiece.
I don't
So I'm
either.
going yeah, I'm going light in jujitsu. I'm rolling with a black belt, and we do something, and he tries to shrimp away, hits me with his elbow in the two front teeth, knocks my teeth straight back in my mouth, chips two other teeth. I'm bleeding, teeth go flying out of my mouth, and I gotta leave on the plane in like 3 hours. I can't even talk because the teeth are pressed up so far in my mouth. I can't even talk because it's hitting my tongue. Rush to the dentist. I get to the dentist. I find out I got broken bones in the top of my jaw, like in between my nose and my teeth. All these bones are broken right here. I'm like, fuck. I gotta pull out of the fight because I can't eat solid food for a week. I'm on antibiotics because of because he just messed with my teeth. He had to pull my teeth back. I was gonna lose my teeth. And he's like, yeah, you could fight, but if you get punched in the mouth and that breaks anymore, you could lose your whole like top row of teeth. I'm like, fuck. So I gotta pull out of the fight 4 days before the fight, 5 days before the fight. And I spent all this money on the fucking training camp and I get compensated not none. So I lose out on all that money. I got to pay for all my dental bills and I got to sip smoothies through a straw for 3 weeks now because my teeth get knocked in the back of my throat. So yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, so because you're a contractor now. What we
exactly,
when
exactly. I
you
don't, I don't get reimbursed all that money I spent on the training camp. So it's one of those things. It's like you damned if you do, you damned if you don't. Now you're scared to put all your eggs in one basket and stuff like that. Like right now, I got a full time job that I work. So I mean, I've been working 50 hours this whole training camp a week. So it's like I can't put all my eggs in that basket because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the universe is going to do. So I don't know how I'm going to get compensated if I do put all my eggs in that basket. It's just a weird business to be in. But you know what? I can't complain because I'm signing up for it. So I'm not going to sit here. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. I'm just stating facts and what's going on because a lot of people don't understand the business of it all. So
Yeah, and like I said, we're on the same page, man. Like I said, I love UFC. I want to see him do great. I've been a fan since the early days. I was renting the VHS tapes at Hastings. You know what I'm talking about, Hastings.
Oh yeah.
I was renting the VHS tapes back in high school in '95, man, watching them and you know all me and my boys and smoking and drinking and watching UFC fights on videotape and I love it, but at the same time, again, it's just like anything, man. When I see there's a need for improvement, especially when it comes to the quality of life, man, I think everybody deserves better. And I think we really got an eye opener when we saw that the company, when they finally, because they never had to really disclose, they're not a publicly traded company, but once they sold for $4 billion, and you start to really do the math on that, and this is actually how I got acquainted with Chael Sonnen by arguing with him on Twitter because it started out with me just and I'm a huge fan and I have a ton of respect, but it was a polite disagreement. So he DM'd me and we continued the disagreement and then I ended up just having him on my podcast and we've been cool ever since. But what he said was he was like, look, he said, I don't understand what your problem is with it because the fighter pay has increased dramatically. And I said, yeah, but look at the revenue. You look at how much the UFC was worth when Zuffa bought it versus what it's worth now. And the increase in the fighter pay is like nothing compared to that. So where does all that money go? It is capitalism at the end of the day. I get it. It's their money. You can do whatever you want with it. But like I said, I just don't feel it's sustainable. I see a need for an improvement in the quality of life for fighters. You deserve better, and hopefully we'll see that happen in the next few years.
I mean, it's funny you say man. It's a great conversation because I look at the UFC like a smaller government. Like if you look at the government, anytime that you try to say something's wrong with America, people think you're being unpatriotic.
Right.
And you're like, oh, I'm just trying to. If you don't see there's a problem, then you can never make it better. Same thing in the UFC. Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, let's take just pay in general for a regular job. Let's say, okay, someone was making $10 an hour 10 years ago, but now they're making $20 an hour. Okay, in 2010, freaking a one-bedroom apartment over here in Houston was like 500 a month. Now you go and try to get one, you can't find one under 1,000. Yeah, okay, you raise your money $10, but the price has done doubled what you're making. So you're still, even though you're making $10 more, you're still struggling because all the other prices done went up too. And I feel like that's the same way in the UFC. Like, yeah, fighter pay has went up, but how much you think the UFC's pay has went up? So, but I think that goes back, like you said, the whole capitalistic view of things. You got Bezos, he's the richest guy in the world, but you got his employees that are barely making $10, $15 an hour, but he's going to keep making that profit margin regardless. So if you raise the minimum wage up to $15, shit, he's just going to raise his prices up so he can still make the same profit margin. So
That's exactly right. That's what I always tell people because when Bernie comes out talking about we're going to raise minimum wage, I'm like, do you think that a capitalist, a business owner, a billionaire is going to let you fuck with his profit? No. He's going to be like, okay, cool. You want me to lose more money because that's the way they see it. I'm going
yeah,
to raise my prices so that so I can keep making more money or making the same money if not more. It's funny
yeah.
that you mentioned Amazon though, because my nephew was out here for Christmas, and he actually gave me an update. He said my sister is working in an Amazon warehouse, and it's like a sweatshop, and
Oh
like
yeah.
they don't pay hardly nothing, and it's a ton of work, and it's brutal. And I just was like, damn, I would have never guessed. I thought that was like one of those companies that's nice to work for, like Google or something, where it's like you actually want to go to work. Sounds like every other damn job.
Oh yeah, oh for sure. And then you got Bezos. I don't understand how they let that guy get so much or power, or people get that much power. Shoot, I just found out he's the owner of the Washington Post. He has one of the biggest contracts with the Pentagon right now, and he actually sits on one of the Pentagon boards making decisions with the Pentagon.
Damn. Man, yeah, money will get you anywhere, man.
Okay.
So speaking of money, all right, you got your job with UFC. You're gonna do your job here at UFC 246. That's not this weekend, but the next following Saturday. Um, what about sponsors in the meantime, helping you to take care of the fight camp and everything like that? Do you have sponsors now that you want to shout out here?
I don't have any sponsors. Like I said, I stopped that. I stopped that because of the UFC and what they told me. I just didn't like it, so I stopped all of that stuff. That's why I just work a regular job now. I'm a blue collar fighter, blue collar worker, and that's how it's going to get done. I'm not asking for handouts. I'm just here to do work, and that's about it.
Now, when they sent that email out, was that something that they it was a personal email that they sent to you or that they sent to everybody?
They sent to all the fighters.
I
They sent to
see.
all. There's all the fighters got it, and I don't know if the fighters are following it or per se, but that was just kind of my last straw with the whole situation. Like, if y'all want to steal from my pockets, y'all always want to steal from the poor people, So go ahead, and I'll just fight. Y'all just pay me when I fight, you know.
Yeah,
Like I said, it's like a losing battle, like I said. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna save my energy. I'm not gonna be negative about it. I signed up for it, so I'm just gonna go out and do my job.
yeah, I think it is kind of a mixed review. I think some fighters, because as you said that, I was just thinking. I know a lot of fighters do that. I see them doing that same thing, and so yeah, probably people are not necessarily complying with it, and I get it too, man. Because like you said, it is a contracting job in terms of the way that it's like show business in a way. Like you basically like you got one job and then that's your job. When that job's over, like you don't know if the next job's coming. I mean, you could go out there and do really good, but your next paycheck, your next contract, your next gig is never guaranteed. That I can tell you.
Well, but I just don't get it. Like, it just frustrates me so much. I try not to talk about it, but like
Yeah.
last year before the Johnny Walker fight, you know, they let me do a pro grappling match. They let the fighters do the pro grappling match. Why can't I do a pro boxing match? You know what I mean? You let me make money grappling. Why can't I make money boxing? I don't understand that. And so I think that Muhammad Ali Act needs to go ahead and switch over to MMA, so we can stop. They can stop holding them. Stop holding on to things. If you go and put a toy up on the shelf, let someone else play with that toy. That's what I say. Dang,
And
let us make money.
and they just did the last pay-per-view that was here. They did a quintet grappling tournament, and Cub Swanson like got his whole knee and shit wrecked, and because the argument has always been, well, in boxing, you get hurt, but shit,
Hurt.
you get hurt more in grappling than anything. Any fighter will tell you that. It's been my experience. Everybody has always told me that. It's always been my personal experience.
Exactly.
Sparring, no, grappling is where I've always gotten hurt every time.
So yeah, like I said, I mean, but you know, it is what it is. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Like you said, anytime you try to bring it up, you're gonna either look like you're complaining or you hate the company or this and that. And it's like, dang. So I'm just gonna shut my mouth. I try to, but
What do
you
you
know,
think your relationship is like with him? Like, I mean, obviously you go way back with McMaynard. What about Dana? Because we know he doesn't like when people are critical. He's very sensitive to that, but at the same time, he likes guys that fight like you, that kind of go in there with that kill or be killed style, that's looking to finish.
I've never had a conversation with Dana. I've really never had a real conversation with Mick Maynard either. Really, I mean, just shake hands, whatnot. I kind of just let my management do all that. So and maybe that's a problem. I'm not sure. I don't understand the whole management thing. Like they want you to have a management, but management doesn't even do shit. They take 20% of your freaking check for no reason. Like Sucker Punch, they want to send me like all the paperwork. They don't even do the paperwork. They like the UFC email them and they forward me the email. I say shit. Why the fuck do I got a manager if you can't even do the paperwork? Why the fuck do I pay you?
Yeah.
Like,
I was talking to Aljo a few months back, and he said the exact same thing. He fired his management because he's like, why the hell am I paying you 20% of my money to take a damn phone call? He said, I could take a goddamn phone call.
but that's what I'm saying. But then it's like, man, it's like the whole system. They won't work with you if you don't have a management. They act like you're hard to work with if you don't have a management system. So it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's kind of like that. When you go to court, if you got a lawyer, you're probably going to win. But if you go try to, try to go do it yourself, they're gonna throw the book at you, kind of thing. I don't know.
Oh man, that is a perfect yeah, that's a perfect analogy. Well, we got several topics that we could expound upon at another time. But right now, I think it's best that you just focus on the tough stud that you have in front of you in Aleksa Camur. That's happening here in Las Vegas, UFC 246, and you can check that out on the Fight Pass prelim. They call them Fight Pass prelims, but I watch everything on ESPN Plus, so I know it'll be there. I'll definitely be checking that out. I'm going to be in and around for fight week all week long. And man,
Media,
I'm super excited. What's up?
you gonna have a media pass for fight week?
So here's what I just found out yesterday that I'm not. And here's so originally my outlet that we're doing this interview for, Cage Side Press, I covered the last fight and I'm covering the one in March. And I'm covering International Fight Week. So they're sending my colleague to cover this one. So I said that's fair. Everything sounds fair, because we only get one credential because we're not as big as them other guys. And so I went with another outlet, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna get you hooked up." And then the UFC was like, "Yeah, it's all good and we're good." And then finally they hit me up yesterday. They're like, "Yeah, you know what? This card is too big. Nah, we're not gonna give you a press pass." I'm like, "Hey, God bless. Hey, you know what? It is what it. I'm blessed, man. I have a blessed life, so I can't complain."
Same here. That's how I feel, man. Can't complain. I'm blessed, man.
Shit, man. It's because from Texas, man. It's part of our. It's in our DNA, man. Just to
Out.
appreciate life, man. Um, well, it's great talking to you, brother. I will see you soon. Hopefully next week. I'll see you around. And man, I wish you the best of luck. I mean, you got your work cut out for you. So does your opponent. I am anticipating a great fight, man.
Hell yeah, man. Like you said, he's a wrestler, but my trainer's been telling me he likes to stand up. So hopefully we can keep it stand up, and then if he goes for the takedown, I'm looking to block it and sprawl and brawl. So hopefully we can put a show on the crowd and get the night started off right.
I know that y'all will because like I said, I saw him fight at the Apex, and I mean, I've seen you. I think this is excellent matchmaking, and there's a lot of fights in this card that are that way, and I'm just man, I'm freaking so I'm so thrilled for this.
Yeah, awesome, man.
All right, brother, thank you so much. That's Justin Ledet. I'm Rodney James for Cage Side Press.